Good evening, YouTube. It is fabulous because it is Friday, and that means when my alarm goes off tomorrow morning, I don't have to go to work. So I'm in a good mood. We got 5 more things to talk about. So pitter patter. First up, a book I found on the discount rack at Indigo for $5. I just looked at the cover and I was like, this looks like it's right up my alley, basically, right? It is called Terminal Uprising. Uh, don't know the author, don't know the franchise, but like I said, the images on the cover really had me interested, and then when I read the back of the book, even more so. What I didn't realize at the time is this is actually the second book of, I think, of a trilogy. So I had no idea what was going on, what had happened before this book. So let me try and piece this together as best I can. So basically, in the year 2104, I think it is, something like that, an alien race of like squid-like looking beings called the Krakow came to Earth and basically, I think, unleashed some sort of weird plague on humanity that basically turned humans into like snarling ferals, right? They came back a year later, tried to fix their mistake, and in doing so turned humanity into like unfeeling kind of not unfeeling in terms of emotions, but in terms of like they don't feel pain and stuff like that. So they basically turned them into these kind of machines of war that they enlisted as their new army. So humanity is now working for the Krakow, who have kind of taken over and are now their foot soldiers, right? So the main enemy of the Krakow is a race of beings called the Prodrians, something like that. They kind of, the description reminded me of like Genosians from Star Wars, you know, the little flying bug type creatures, and they're basically maniacal, violent beings who just want the eradication of every other type of being there is, right? So so they're fighting against them, and humanity is their kind of foot soldiers. So a century has passed since then, I believe, since that all started, and the main character is a woman named Marion Mops Adamopoulos, who is basically like a sanitation engineer, a cleaner. Her and her crew of cleaners get involved in this, in the first book apparently, get involved in this crazy scheme where they end up stealing a warship called the Pufferfish, and end up saving the Krakow homeworld from a terrorism attack that would have destroyed it. So and Mops is really, along the way, Mops is like, she's trying to figure out the truth of what the Krakow have done to humanity, because she knows there's something more to it than just the way the Krakows are spinning it, like we came to Earth and we saved you guys, right? She's like, no, there's more to this. So she is trying to figure out exactly what happened. So in this book, 4 months have passed since she came into possession of this ship and saved the Krakow homeworld, and her crew are basically scouring the galaxy and trying to figure things out. But all the while they're being pursued by the authorities, right? By the Grand Commander of the Krakow fleet. I can't remember her name. And she's kind of always after them. So they actually have an ally working in the Krakow leadership, and this person is, this alien is giving them intel on kind of what their next steps should be and whatever that is. So she tells Mops to meet up with this, a rendezvous with this actually Prodrian contact who has some information for Mops. And she's like, really? We're gonna meet up with one of them? All they want is our destruction. And but they end up doing it anyways, and this being does have some information for them, all the while saying, I'd like nothing more than to kill all of you, right, sort of thing. So it's a very comedic book in a lot of ways as well. So what the intel that they come into is that a human on Earth suspectedly has been found, who is not feral. So they don't know if this feral human has kind of outlasted or overcome that condition and turned back normal, or if this is a new person who has been born like that way out in the wild. Like, they don't know what's going on. So their next mission is to return to the home world of Earth, because the solar system has been totally settled. The space flight and all that stuff, of course, is a regular thing. So they're returning to the home world, the mother world of humanity, to Earth, to check into this rumor. And once they're down there, they well, I won't give it away, but they find some humanity that is normal. They discover some secrets about the truth behind the Krakow, and they also discover a secret laboratory run by the Krakow that is housing a bit of a violent secret that they are using to, in the future, fight this war against the Prodrians, but it's a little extreme and could end up backfiring on them. So Mobs is like, what kind of idea was this, right? So I won't give too much away, but in the end, they kind of, I won't tell you, but obviously there's going to be a third book. So there's not a hard ending to this book. It's on a bit of a cliffhanger, but the story was, like I said, there was a lot of humor involved. But it was all sci-fi. So it was kind of in ridiculous. A team of cleaners takes over a warship and is fighting alien squids and that sort of thing, right? So it's just a ridiculous, hilarious kind of space jaunt sort of thing. So next up, finally got around to watching this. It took so long, and I don't know why, because I love it. It is Top Gun Maverick. This is the sequel to the OG Top Gun that I talked about a number of videos ago from the mid-80s. And in this movie, over 30 years have passed since Maverick, Pete Mitchell, Maverick, has graduated from Top Gun and gone on that original adventure. And his antics have continued all these years. So he's never really risen that high in the U.S. military. So he is currently working as a test pilot, and the project they're working on is the ability to get this kind of stealth craft up to Mach 10, to unheard of speeds before. So they're planning their next test to hit to work up to the next step where they're at, which is Mach 9. However, there is a douche high up in the military who is planning on canceling Maverick's little program here, and he's on his way to the facility to shut them down. And so that morning they had actually planned on testing the ship to get to Mach 9. But he goes, you know what? We gotta go all the way today. If we're gonna save this thing, we gotta go Mach 10 today. So he goes up. He's in the plane. He's pushing. He finally reaches Mach 10 successfully, and everybody's like fucking jacked, right? Like, oh yeah. Only problem is Maverick. He's got the need for speed. So he keeps pushing, and then he fucking crashes. Iceman, his former rival at Top Gun turned friend, is now, he rose in the ranks, and he's now commander of the Pacific Fleet. And all these years, he's been able to bail Maverick out of his situations and make sure he's able to maintain service despite his nonsense. So once again, Iceman kind of bails him out of this situation. And the solution is that Maverick is being moved back to Top Gun as an instructor. That's right. So he gets to Top Gun, and he's got a bunch of hotshot pilots who have been brought in. They don't know what's going on. So basically Maverick is there to train these young pilots for a particular mission. I can't remember what country it's in, but obviously a douche country. And there's a facility for refining or doing something to uranium, and it's located within like this mountain range that it's almost like an inverted pyramid, right? Like there's these hills that go up, and then in the middle there's just like this open area, and at the very bottom of it is the uranium mine. It's protected by missile launchers, and they also have a fleet of like the newest generation of warplanes, of fighters, plus some older ones like the F-14 Tomcats and stuff like that. So this is a really tough mission to pull off. They want a bombing mission to wipe this uranium facility out. So Maverick has been brought in to train these pilots on how to execute a successful mission to pull this off. So basically what they have to do is they have to fly in low to avoid radar, and then at the last second climb the side of the mountain, invert, drop down, and lay down the missiles to blow this facility all to hell, and then pull right back up the other side in a steep climb, all the while, once they're exposed, avoiding the missile launchers and that sort of thing. So they're going through the exercise a billion times. It's proving very difficult, and along the way Maverick gets in the sky with the pilots, because at first they don't really respect him. They're like, whatever, you know, you can say Maverick all you want, how many planes he shot down, what he's done, we don't care, we're young, we know everything, we're the best. And then he gets up in the air and just makes them all look like jackasses, right? So he eventually earns their respect. But there's one guy in the group who is a particular problem. His name is Rooster. He is the son of Goose, Maverick's former best friend and co-pilot who died at Top Gun. Rooster has always resented Maverick, not necessarily, I think, for his dad's death, but because Rooster's career was held back because Maverick put in a request for him not to be able to attend or become a fighter pilot, and so Rooster has always resented Maverick for that. But what Rooster doesn't know is that it wasn't Maverick who wanted to do that. It was Rooster's mom who had requested Maverick do that. So, but he's never told him that, because he's like, why does he have to resent her as well as me, sort of thing, right? So anyways, he's got to deal with that as well. So eventually, during a training exercise, one of the Hornets, one of their jets, is lost, and the Iceman also passes away because he was sick. So after these two events, the guys running Top Gun finally they take the opportunity to use these things as an excuse to pull Maverick off of out of Top Gun, and basically kick him out. So he's despondent about that, and he talks to his former girlfriend, who he's hooked up with again while he's been at Top Gun, about what he should do. So in the meantime, the guy running Top Gun, now one of the douches, is like, okay, we're going to change the mission parameters, and we're going to make it a lot easier for you guys to get in and get out of there. But all the while, this is going to expose them to more fire earlier on, and make an easier kill of them, right? So even though that mission Maverick was trying to plan was hard, it was going to keep them as well protected as possible, right? So this guy's got this new mission in place that everybody's like, oh god, we're gonna die, right? so Maverick decides to commandeer a plane and run the mission himself and show everybody it can be done. He pulls it off, and eventually they put him back on, and soon the mission is on. And I won't spoil the ending, but let's just say he ends up getting involved with the mission. Him and Rooster end up getting stranded a little bit. They end up working some shit out, and it ends up in a really cool kind of action-packed end to the film. So, long time coming, the sequel to Top Gun, and I heard so many good things about it. Everybody seems to have loved it, and upon watching it, yeah, it's a fantastic movie. Like, they did a really good job with making this a new kind of adventure while still paying tribute to the original Top Gun, but not making it cheesy and stupid, you know, sort of thing. So I really enjoyed the movie. Next up, a Kevin Smith classic called Clerks 3, which I assume is the end of the Clerks franchise because there's some finality in this film in some in some respects. So basically, this takes place 15 years after um, Dante and Randall purchased the Quick Stop variety store, and basically life is just been the same this whole time. They're still playing hockey on the roof of the store. Jay and Silent Bob are still in the scene, but except instead of hanging out just in front of the building, which they still do, but they have purchased the old video store right beside the Quick Stop, which they now run as a marijuana dispensary, and things are just clicking along as they normally do. So one day, Elias, their friend Elias, that works at the Quick Stop, and his little friend Blockchain are in the store talking to Randall and Dante about an idea they have come up with to sell these kites with the image of Jesus on them. And so Randall gets talking to Elias about how stupid this idea is and how the idea of religion is stupid and everything, right? And he gets himself so worked up that he ends up having a heart attack. So Dante calls, you know, an ambulance or whatever. They get him rushed to the hospital. He survives, and the doctor's like, you know what, you got to keep Randall, kind of make sure he's okay for the next little while. Keep him happy, keep him whatever, because he almost died, you know, and we need to get him to recover and whatever. So Dante's like, yeah, sure, okay. So he's like, you know, he's trying to be there for Randall, and Randall just the whole time after having a heart attack realizes, you know, I'm gonna die someday, and look what I've done with my life. I've just been hanging out at this stupid convenience store doing stupid shit, the same thing every day, like for how many years of my adult life, right? So he gets inspired to actually film a movie, and the movie is going to be about his and Dante's lives inside the Quick Stop, and they're going to use all the stupid shit and stories that they've seen come through the store as kind of the subject for this film. So Dante's like, yeah, okay. He's like, it's weird, and I don't know how we're going to pull this off and stuff, but okay. And Randall puts Dante in charge of as like a producer sort of thing. So, but as they do the casting, as they, you know, Randall tells Dante, you got to secure funding. We need tens of thousands of dollars, that sort of thing. Randall's turning into like a real kind of dick and a micromanager and always harping on Dante, and the whole script and everything is really downplaying Dante's involvement in everything. He's kind of like, Dante's like, he's like, it's like he's not even my friend, like I'm being treated like a douche as my character in this movie and stuff like that. So Dante's becoming really upset about everything and kind of disillusioned with everything, and Dante even puts the Quick Stop up as collateral to secure a loan from one of their old friends, who's maybe not so friendly with them anymore, to secure funding for this movie, right? And eventually Randall comes up with this scene in the movie that sees them go to Movies, the restaurant, the fast food chain, and Dante can't do it because it reminds him too much of his deceased wife Becky and their unborn child, who died years ago. So and Dante finally has a breakdown, and he gets wasted, and he can't handle everything anymore. The thing with the memories of Becky and everything were kind of the last straw. So he ends up going on a tirade on Randall inside the Quick Stop, and he himself ends up having a heart attack and is rushed to the hospital. So then Randall is like, this kind of opens Randall's eyes to everything, and so Dante's in the hospital, you know, really sick after the heart attack, and Randall's like, oh, we got to do this movie, and we got to do it right. So he ends up getting everybody together, and they finish the movie, and he basically takes it back to the hospital to show Dante the movie, and it's all about Dante and how much their friendship means to Randall, and everything like that. And I won't tell you how it ends, but it's let's just say, like I said, it looks like it's an end to the Clerks franchise. At least a portion of it, anyways. It was kind of sad, but that's all I'll say. But you can kind of get what I'm getting at from that. So the last two things we have are both video games. Both video games I downloaded on my Nintendo Switch. The first one was an absolute brow beater called Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. This is a 2021 game published by Capcom, and is apparently the 8th game in the Ghosts and Goblins franchise. And I had no idea. I was only aware of like one or two, like Ghosts and Goblins and like maybe Super Ghosts and Goblins. So yeah, it might be worth looking into what other games there are. But so I was surprised by that. But basically, it's called Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection because it's kind of like a reimagining of that original Ghosts and Goblins game. You star as the Knight Arthur, and basically the princess has been stolen by an evil demon, and his name is Astaroth or something like that, and you're trying to get her back. So you set out to traipse through all these different lands, and face down all the hordes of demons and zombies and skeletons and all the other ghouls that these big boys throw at you. And to do so along the way, you have Arthur's default weapon, which is the lance, the long lances that he throws. But along the way, you find golden chests that can contain other weapons. Like there's daggers, there's axes, there's like potions you can throw that burns everybody up. There's a bow and arrow or a crossbow or whatever it is. And as you take hits, you lose pieces of your armor until you're basically in your boxer shorts, and then you take another hit and then you're dead. You can gain little suits of armor that will replenish your armor. Yeah, that's basically it. So you traipse through the game, and in the end you face Astaroth, and then you face Lucifer. And then if you beat him and beat the game, you basically unlock Shadow Mode, I guess. I didn't play it because it was like, this game is so hard. Ghosts and Goblins games are hard. So I was like, I'm not putting myself through that again. You know, but basically in Shadow Mode, you can play through the game again in this kind of dark version. And I think there are some other differences playing through the game in that mode afterwards. But yeah, along the way, like, this game starts off very similar to the original Ghosts and Goblins. You're in kind of a graveyard, like a grassy field graveyard kind of a scenario, and that first level looks very much like the original one. But then as the game moves on, it gets a little different from the original game, and you also have a path you can choose. In a few different instances, you can choose to go this route or this route, and the scenes are different depending on which one. There's basically like a lava level. There's, you know, they all have their different themes. I kind of forget what the rest of them are. But yeah, you piece together a route to the end and beat Lucifer and free the princess, and there's your win. So like I said, this game is hard. The waves of enemies are relentless. The bosses are really challenging. It's really a matter, it's one of those games where you have to just always be aware of what's going on the screen, because they can kind of spawn out of anywhere, the enemies. And also, especially on the bosses, you can memorize where guys come from a lot of the time, and how certain sequences go during levels, but they don't always, it can vary, so you can't totally remember everything that happens and memorize it. But the bosses especially, it's about figuring out their patterns and their sequences, and memorizing what you have to do as the fight goes along to not get hit, and make sure you're laying damage on the bosses. So really difficult game, but super fun though. Capcom is one of my favorite game companies. Their games are always great looking and great playing, and are just always super fun and interesting. And this game is no exception. They did a really good job of kind of resurrecting that franchise and putting a new modern kind of look to it. And yeah, I really enjoyed playing it. And most of all, I really enjoyed finishing it. Next up, this game was really fun. It just came up on the eShop as kind of one of the discounted games when I was looking through games that were on sale. And it is called Mini Motor Racing X. And of course, X stands for extreme, bro. Right? This game is a racing game of the more top-down variety, although you can change the camera angles to be kind of more behind the car, whatever, third person. But it is one of those kind of smaller scale cars from above, and you basically are just competing in races and earning money. And along the way, like, you pick your car to start the game, you do however you do in the race, you earn money, you can upgrade different aspects of your car, including acceleration, top speed, handling, and nitro, I believe it is. So you can, trick out the vehicle of your choice and get it really good so that you can continue through the game and beat some of the harder races. Now, the modes it has are, there's an online multiplayer mode, there's a local split screen mode, and it's not just 2 players. The screen is divided into 4, and you can play 4 players at once. Or there's a career mode, which you can play solo or co-op with a friend. So me and James chose to play the career, of course, and within the career there are 4 different championships, like an easy, and then a medium, then a hard, then an extreme sort of thing. And with each championships, there's more and more races involved. So I don't remember how many races there are to beat all 4 championships, but it's a lot. It's like maybe 200 or something like that. There's a lot of repeat in the tracks, and when you play on the tracks, there's different conditions. Like sometimes it's night, sometimes it's day, sometimes there's rain. They mix things up a little bit. Yeah, as you move along, of course, with each championship, it gets harder and harder. So that's where upgrading your vehicle, picking one vehicle and upgrading it fully, makes sense to be able to compete as you go along, sort of thing, right? So we did that, and eventually worked on other cars as well, and upgraded as many cars as we could. Yeah, you just work your way through the championships. With each set of races you unlock during the championships, you unlock future ones, and you keep going through, and until you win the game, sort of thing. Now, there's 2 different modes to this game. I guess Mini Motor Racing is a franchise. There's other games in it, which I've never heard of and never played before. But in this game, one of the main differences between previous games is that you have the regular mode, which is just racing, or you have the X mode, which is the same type of racing, only weapons are involved. So you can pick up, they have landmines, missiles, what were some of the other weapons? Or a tornado you can send at people, a wrench that bounces all around that you can send at people. So there's weapons involved, shields, that sort of thing. So it adds a different element to the game where you're not just trying to be fast and be in the lead, but you've got to contend with getting hacked and whacked, and also hacking and whacking at people yourself, sort of thing. So, and it's the same thing in career mode. You do all 4 championships in the regular style racing, and then you repeat and you do all 4 championships in the X mode as well. So there's a lot of racing in this game. It took us a good long while to finish this game, just simply because there's so many races. Yeah, it never kind of got boring, and it never kind of got old, despite the same tracks over and over and whatever. It just, as long as we had races to unlock and win, it always kept us going. We always had fun playing it. So really good graphics, really good gameplay, for a simpler type of game. Like, it's not like it'll blow you away graphics wise, but everything was smooth, looks good, it's colorful, it's very cartoony, and just a whole lot of fun as well. So I would recommend this game for any fan of racing games, especially more goofy type of ones, because it is a lot of fun, and it's also very cheap. I think it's only like $5 right now on the eShop. So very good value, and yeah, very good value considering you'll be playing it forever, and it's only $5. So you can't go wrong, right? So anyways, that is all for now. This is the last of my pop culture review videos that I actually have queued up, ready to go already. I've got more stuff going into my next one, but I haven't gained my 5 items yet. So I'm finally up to date from all the stuff I had on backlog since, you know, the whole changeover between phones. We're almost up to date with all of the videos I had to post. So it feels really, really good. Really good.